Well, it's coming home, isn't it? England played a friendly last night, and I think they put in a fairly decent performance. A very convincing 3-0 win against Bosnia Hercegovina. In this video, we're going to be talking all about the main talking points in this game. We're going to go over some of the main statistics. And one thing's first is we have to give a massive shout out to Adam Wharton. In my opinion, he had such a composed debut when he came on. For probably 20 to 30 minutes, I thought he was excellent on the ball, got himself into some really nice spaces. Thought it opened up the midfield a little bit more when the likes of Harry Kane came on, James Maddison, Jack Grealish. I thought it really sort of changed the complexion of the game, and I think what, in my opinion, a convincing performance heading into the final friendly on Friday. I think a couple of players have definitely played their way into the squad, but it's going to be very interesting to see how the final squad lines up heading into that first game in the Euro 2024. Now let's take a look at the game. Let's take a look at the lineups and some numbers behind it. So here we have it. England winning 3-0 against Bosnia Hercegovina. It did take quite a long time to get a goal. It took up until the 60th minute when we won a penalty, which Cole Palmer took, and I thought he put it away excellently. Nice and powerful into that bottom corner. Keeper really stood no chance, to be completely honest. Trent Alexander-Arnold's goal. What a bit of movement, bit of play for him. I've always thought he's really good on the attacking end of the field, but I think he struggles a bit defensively. I think we noticed that a couple of times last night with his more central role, but what a brilliant ball into the back post, and what an excellent finish it was by Trent. Harry Kane late on scoring as well. Probably should have been a Jarrod Bowen goal if it wasn't for, I think it was Ezri Konsa who blocked it on the line. And for me, I felt like Bosnia put in a really good performance up until probably the 60th, 70th minute. We got that first goal and then it was sort of all England. But up until then, I thought Bosnia did an excellent job. It was a brilliant game at St James's Park. There seemed to be a lot of atmosphere. You can even, I obviously watched it on the telly. I'm not going to chat shit and say I was there. But it's like, it was obvious that there was a good atmosphere going at St James's Park. I thought the Bosnia manager set up his team really well, considering that it was his first game in management, and I think that's something which has to be noted with this as well. And if we do just scroll down to look at the lineups, we're going to focus mainly on England. We're not really going to take a big look at Bosnia today, but if we do look at that lineup, you can see that Trippier started out at left back. I think he played 60 minutes, I think it says there. Yeah, 60 odd minutes. And a back four of Trippier on the left, Guéhi, Dunk and Ezri Konsa. I thought Mark Guéhi and Ezri Konsa were brilliant. I'm still a bit unsure on Lewis Dunk. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments, but for me, I'm not sold. I'm not. And I don't know if he's one of those players who's a bit like Connor Cody, who is excellent around the dressing room and may get a space for that. But for me, I'm not sold. A midfield two with Gallagher and Trent. Thought they did fairly well, to be completely honest with you. Still not completely sold on Trent in midfield. I thought he was much better when he came out to that right back position. But obviously then against the better teams in right back, is he going to get caught defensively? Because we know that happens a lot at Liverpool. Your front three of Eze, Palmer and Bowen with Watkins up front. I thought Eze has played his way into the team. I thought he was excellent for the 60 minutes he was on the pitch. I think there was a tweet I saw on Twitter. It said something along the lines of Eze could find space in a single bed with Gemma Collins, and I think it is an absolute perfect analogy for Eze. I thought he was excellent, picking up spaces, getting the ball, creating opportunities, and I felt early on in the game him and Palmer were sort of a bit stuck on where to go and what to do, because they're both similar players who like to get on the ball, like to do stuff with the ball. I just felt that they kept getting in the way of each other. But as the game progressed, they sort of figured out a way to work together, and I thought they were both excellent performers. I thought Jarrod Bowen put in a fairly good performance, but it's one of those with someone of the likes of Jarrod Bowen. Is he going to be able to do it at a European Championships? There's obviously a couple of players who obviously weren't involved in this game, the likes of Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Kobbie Mainoo wasn't involved. I don't think Declan Rice was involved at all. Anthony Gordon wasn't involved. So it's one of those where I get the impression that Bowen will get picked over Gordon if Gordon isn't fit for Friday. just because it's one of those situations where if we haven't seen Gordon play in an England shirt in the system, then it's quite hard to give him that opportunity. Now, I believe Kobbie Mainoo and Phil Foden and the likes that played in that FA Cup final will be back for Friday's game. Obviously, Jude Bellingham, I believe, isn't back until the 8th, so 4 days away from when I record and post this video. Ollie Watkins played up front. Not a great deal to say about Ollie Watkins. I think we're very limited with Watkins up front, in my opinion. I think, obviously, with Kane, you have him dropping into midfield, picking up the ball, spraying passes and things like that. And when you're playing against a deep block like we was doing yesterday, I think like having Kane in the side is amazing. I think Watkins would be brilliant against maybe like a Spain or a France or in Italy or something like that, where they're gonna like actually try and play against you. But I don't quite think Watkins is the type of player to be involved when there's a low block. I think he'd probably I felt last night he struggled a little bit. He got himself some fairly decent chances, but I did feel like he struggled. Now, we will go on to the players who came off the bench. Obviously, we made a vast amount of changes. James Maddison came on. Kane, Grealish, Branthwaite, Wharton and Gomez all came on. I believe Gomez came on and played left back. In my opinion, I thought it was fairly good. Adam Wharton, I said it earlier on, I think he had an absolute excellent debut. I think he has 100% pass accuracy in something like 36, 37 passes, which is brilliant. I thought he moved the ball really well. Branthwaite, no complaints from me. I thought came on, did his job, controlled the game through the back four, and I thought he was excellent at sort of picking up spaces and reading the play. I thought there was a couple of moments where he sort of caught out, like he picked up a yellow card. He went in a little bit late for a header. I thought Grealish, doing Grealish things, obviously picked up the assist, I believe, for Trent Alexander-Arnold's goal. And I thought Grealish came on and did what Grealish does. Won fouls, got on the ball, drove at players. And the only thing I think is missing is I think Grealish is now a bit of a robot. I think when you go back to his Villa days, he'd run, he'd beat a man, he'd shoot, or he'd run, beat a man, crossing the box. And I think there was a couple of occasions where Grealish got into the box and didn't shoot, and he had the opportunity to. And there was one where he tried to play it square for Kane, but if he'd have shot himself, he probably would have scored. But it's one of those with Grealish. I think I'd personally have him in the squad. I think it's really hard to not have him because he's so good at winning those fouls. He's so good at getting players into difficult situations where he can beat a man and take the foul. And I think it's excellent what he does on the ball. And I think that's something that can't be missed going into a Euros, because when you come up against those better teams or even those lower block teams like last night, you've got to have a player who can go both ways and also put a ball into the box, take a shot. And I think that's something which Jack Grealish can do. He just needs to start shooting more. Harry Kane, I thought, was really good when he came on. Put in a fairly decent performance, scored, I say a nice goal. Bowen shoots, Konsa blocks it on the line, comes back out to Harry Kane, who essentially just strikes it through the keeper. There's not much the keeper could do. It was only a couple of yards out. But it's a decent goal for Kane, getting him in that rhythm. Now, I know he's had a really, really good season at Bayern Munich, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can carry us to a European Championships, because that's what I think a lot of people are expecting. A lot of people are expecting us to get sort of quite far in this tournament, and I have to say I do agree. Now, Maddison came on, and I'm a bit up in the air with James Maddison because I think him and Grealish are very similar players. I know Grealish can play off the left and Maddison can play through the middle and the left and things like that. But for me, I think you take one or the other. I'm not sold on Maddison. I know he started the season really, really well, and he sort of petered off during the season. Obviously had his injury and came back, and I don't really think he hit the form that he hit earlier on in the year. But for me, I think at the moment, I think your front players, like I think you take Eze, Grealish, Palmer, like your standard selection. If we do now go over and take a look at the stats, we'll split it in half first. Look, first half, dominated possession, didn't really create many chances. Yes, it says we had 2 big chances, but I think we didn't really create a great deal of anything special. 5 shots, 3 on target, 300 passes, 90% accuracy. Fairly decent. I think we've shown now that we're a team that can now control the ball. And obviously that's only going to get better when you add in the likes of Phil Foden, you add in the likes of Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice. When you add in these players, it is only going to get better. You've obviously got John Stones to come in. You've got Jude Bellingham to come in. Like, you've got all these players still to come in, and that's something which will only elevate this squad from the performance last night. Now, if we do look, 4 of our shots were in the box, 1 of them were outside the box. If you've been along this channel for a while, you know how important I think it is to get your shots within the box. You don't want to be taking shots from 25, 30 yards. You want them within that 18-yard box. I think it ultimately massively boosts your chances, and I know that's completely obvious, but a lot of people think, oh, but you could take a strike from 30 yards and score. Well, yes, you can, but you've got more chance of scoring from within that box, getting into those really good opportunities and around the edge of the 18. I think, like, that's the furthest you should go. I think you should always play into those areas, and unless you've got an open goal, obviously. Now, in the first half, 15 touches in the opposition box to 4 for Bosnia. I think obviously, as you can expect with England, absolutely dominated the play. It means Bosnia dominated the defensive statistics, and when it comes to the duels, though, we were all over it, winning the ball back, successful dribbles, aerial duels, ground duels, and I think it was a really, really good performance from England. Now, if we do flip it over to the second half, and you can see we had a much better second half, and I wish you could split it into 15-minute periods, because I think the game completely changed when we brought on Harry Kane, Grealish, Maddison. I think it really changed when we got back to a fluid sort of style, and 20 shots, but only 5 of them on target. That's where I have a bit of a gripe. You probably want 8 or 9, in my opinion, from 20 shots. Obviously, 72% possession is absolutely massive. Obviously, 4 big chances missed, but we took 2 big ones. So that's 4 big chances created, 2 missed, but obviously we scored 2. So it's important that we also then look at the passing accuracy. We took less passes, a little bit higher percentages, and if we do then look at the statistical numbers, 14 shots within the box out of 20, which I think is really good. 11 of those shots blocked, which explains why it's only 5, but you'd obviously hope to get into better positions. I think Cole Palmer had some really good opportunities within the first and second half, but just couldn't get his shots away, really. Now, if we do then again look over to this touches in the opposition box, 31-0 in this game, and I think that just shows how we controlled and dominated the game in that second half. Now, if we do take a little bit of a scroll down again, defensively, the lesser team who had less of the ball obviously win a majority of that. You then go to the duels. We obviously are better in that situation when we're winning the ball back in the air, on the floor, all those types of things. And obviously Jack Grealish coming on and getting his dribbles going. So for me, I think it was an excellent England performance. So for me, I think it was an excellent performance. Like, there's not really much you can say or do regarding this game, because obviously Bosnia aren't the greatest side, but putting in a performance like that, if we go back to the previous World Cup, we struggled in our first friendly. I believe it was Jordan Henderson goal from a penalty spot, I think, which helped us secure a result in that game. Struggled in the second sort of friendly leading into it as well, and I just felt that we wasn't really preparing well in that sort of time period. Now, I think we've done really well with this game. I think we're putting a really good performance. I think on Friday, we're going to do a preview for that game tomorrow, so make sure you do hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. But I do think on Friday, we're going to have a much better sort of balance of the squad. I think we will see the likes of Harry Kane. Well, I think Kane should start. I think we should see the likes of Foden and Walker, Stones cutting into the squad, Kobbie Mainoo as well. And for me, I think in this game we've got to have, in my opinion, half an hour, 45 minutes of what we expect to play for our first game, because you've got to give them lads the opportunity to get used to each other. Now, what I would do is I'd play what I consider my starting team in the first half. And then I'd swap it at half time, bring the other players on, whoever you're not 100% sure about. I think it would be nice to see Jarrell Quansah get onto the pitch, but I don't know if he will. But obviously, we've seen the performance from last night. We've seen some really good displays. Now, I'd go strongest 11 heading into, as strong as you can go, because obviously Bellingham's not going to be there. But for me, I'd go as strong as you can go. Give them 45 minutes. Anyone you're unsure about, give the second half, in my opinion. That would be my play heading into that game. So if you do want to stay tuned for that preview, make sure you do hit that subscribe button down below. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.